But look, when it comes to the NDIS, there's a pattern that's becoming impossible to ignore in parts of the media. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. When budgets are tight, when systems are complex, and when the people affected don't have powerful voices, some outlets, they don't punch up, they punch down. And right now, one of the biggest punching bags in the Australian media is disability, specifically the NDIS. Now, let me walk you through 3 recent examples, because taken together, they tell a bigger story about how this debate is being framed and who gets hurt along the way. Example 1 comes from the Australian. A headline warning that ADHD stimulant medication has become the fastest growing drug on the PBS. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a legitimate public interest issue. Maybe it is. And yes, prescription growth, cost, and safeguards are fair to examine. But look at how this is framed. The article leans heavily on phrases like diagnosis on demand, over-identification, and social media-fueled ADHD. The subtext is clear. People aren't sick, they're trendy. But here's the part that really gets said loudly enough. ADHD isn't new. What's new is adults are finally being diagnosed after decades of being missed, dismissed, or mislabeled. And as most of you know, I fit into that category. The fact that I was undiagnosed for many years actually affected my life in so many ways, including issues at work and home. Increased diagnosis does not automatically equal overdiagnosis. It can also mean long-standing underdiagnosis is finally being addressed. And yet the tone of this coverage leaves people with ADHD, people who rely on medication to function, to work, to parent, feeling like they're rorting the system. I should say this plainly. I have ADHD. I need that medication. And articles like this don't just raise questions, they plant suspicion. Let's go to example 2, because it's even more revealing. A news.com.au story claims an Australian man made $6 million from the NDIS, clearing deceased estates and flipping the goods for profit.
Won't believe this. I just had a guy come up to me at the gym and he told me that he gets NDIS funding to do estate clearances. He's made $6 million with NDIS funding since 2016, clearing people's estates. The government funds him and funds them to do it. He's made $4 million reselling the second-hand goods under NDIS funding. What better way to advertise buying people's stuff? You actually get it for free and you get paid to remove their contents. It's like 1-800-JUNK or whatever. How good's that?
Now, that was the video that ran in the news.com.au article, and it's the video the whole article is based on. Sounds explosive, doesn't it? Except there's one small problem. The story isn't actually a story. There are no documents, no contracts, no verified NDIS provider records. The central claim comes from, and I'm not exaggerating, a guy at the gym. Even the article itself acknowledges that the NDIS does not fund estate clearances and that funding ceases when a participant dies. In other words, the supposed scandal collapses under its own weight, but not before the damage is done. The headline still screams corruption, and the comments fill with anger. And once again, the takeaway is simple. The NDIS is broken, people are rorting it, and those who need to support or who need support are somehow to blame. And then there's example 3, a column, also from the Australian, that openly mocks the idea of the NDIS. A satirical piece about seasonal gluttony, ending with the punchline, "We'll pop it on the NDIS." Now look, satire has its place. I have defended comedy and I don't believe there are any sacred cows. But usually satire punches up, not down. But even then, it's not about this one article. That's not from a comedian. I think comedians can do it very... Comedians can take an issue, they can punch down, but they do it in a smart way. An article like this is just basically saying, the NDIS is a rort, I'm going to get it for this new thing that I've just made up. When disability support becomes the punchline, when the NDIS is reduced to a running joke about bogus claims, It reinforces exactly the same narrative, that disability is exaggerated, that support is indulgence, that people are having a lend. And once that idea is normalised, it becomes politically easier to cut, restrict, and delay support. Let's be clear about something. The NDIS is not perfect. It needs reform. It needs better oversight. Yeah, it needs accountability. But reform starts with facts, not vibes, not anecdotes, and not lazy suspicion aimed at people with the least power to fight back. You know, when media coverage consistently frames disability as a cost problem, a credibility problem, or a cultural joke, that's not scrutiny, that's punching down. And the people who wear the consequences aren't columnists or commentators or politicians. It's the Aussies who've already spent their lives proving they deserve help. McKnight Tonight.